In this video I'm going to show you how to use a wet paint Photoshop action. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use this photo as an example for a demonstration of the action. So the way the action works is you open up your photo, you fill in your subject with a color and just play the action. And here is the effect that the action creates. So as you can see, what the action does, it turns the whole photo into the sketch effect, and the area that you have filled here with a color is going to be a detailed sketch, and the action will stop once with the mesh to ask you to define the areas that you wish to be painted. So the area that you brush when the action asks you will be turned into the painting, and also this painted area creates these shadow, and the action creates these paint drops from the painted area, and you can choose from 3 different angles of the shadow: right, left, and down. The action also creates 20 preset colors that you choose from, and there's a lot of options for customizing the design. After I finish with customizing this result over here, I'm then going to demonstrate the action on one more example. That's this one here. So for this example, I'm going to use a quick version of the action. So that version doesn't create the paint drops and the shadow effect, and that's also besides it shortens the processing time of the action. It also allows you to don't have to brush this precisely, okay? Because the shadow effect and the paint drops effect demands these sharp edges. So when you're using quick version, it doesn't create a shadow and paint drops. You can just simply brush like this and just play the action. And here's the effect, the second effect I'm going to demonstrate. Okay, so let me just close these windows. Okay, so when you open up your photo before you use the action, there are a few things that you should check to make sure that the action will run without any errors. So the first thing that you check is that your photo is a background layer, so it should be called a background and have this little lock icon. And if you have something like this or anything else, just go to layer, new, and choose a background from layer. Then click on this menu icon here and just choose the panel options. Just make sure this option here, the add copy to copied layers groups, is checked. And then go to image mode, and your photo must be in RGB color mode 8-bit channel. Also check the image size over here. So for best results, you should use photos that are about from 20 to 3500 pixels wide or high, and resolution should be 300 pixels per inch. So for example, if you have some other resolution, what you should do is you can just select the width and press Ctrl Command C to copy this value, and then just type here a 300, and then select this value over here and press Ctrl Command V to paste this value like this, and just choose OK. And the image size will be the same, but the resolution will change to 300. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is to just go to Window, Actions, click on this menu icon, Load Actions, and here just choose the action according to the Photoshop version that you're using. Just double click on the action file. The action folder will appear in your Actions panel. So as you can see, you got a wet paint quick action, the right shadow. So this is the this action here creates the shadow with the right angle, and you got it with the left and with the down angle of the shadow. And you got these 3 actions here that are going to update the shadow, because sometimes you change, make some changes to design, you just need to update the shadow effect. Okay. And to load the brushes, you can just hit B on your keyboard, right click anywhere over the canvas, and just click on this gear icon here, just load brushes, and just choose the brushes according to the Photoshop version you're using. So just double click on the brushes file, and all the brushes will appear in your brushes panel. Okay, now what you have to do is to go to layer, new, and choose layer to create a new layer, and just name it brush. And it is very important that you type the brush exactly like this, all letters lowercase, because otherwise the action won't work. Just choose OK, And now what you can do is, if you are brushing over the subject, you have to use these, the color doesn't matter here, you can choose any color. You have to use these hard brush with the hard edges. You may not use this one here. You can use a brush like this only for the quick version of the product. Otherwise, if you use it for some of these, probably you're going to get some error, right? So you can do it like this, or sometimes what's easier is to make a selection of your subject and then just fill it with the color. So if you're making a selection of your subject, the best is you need to select these a background layer, and sometimes easier to select the background and then just inverse the selection than selecting a subject, and that is the case in this photo here. So you can just pick the magic wand tool, adjust the tolerance, and what you do is you can hold the shift button to create selection of the full background, and just like this. And then after you finish, you can just press Control Shift I or Command Shift I to inverse the selection. You can go to select Modify Smooth to smooth the selection a little bit for 1 pixel, and then just select the brush layer again and just press Shift or and F5, fill with a foreground color, and that's it. Okay, I'm just gonna open my PSD file because I've already done this. I already made this brush layer before. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, before I play the action, is I want to just expand this canvas size. I want to have a little bit more space on the sides here and at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is go to Image, Canvas Size. I'm going to check here the relative, and I'm just going to type here 700 to expand the canvas on the sides. And just going to go again to canvas size and click on this arrow over here to expand the canvas at the bottom, and just going to expand it for about 200, just like this. Okay, so now all you have to do is just select the action that you like and click play. So I'm going to use, in this app, I'm going to use a left shadow angle, and as I already mentioned before, the action will stop once with a message. So I'm going to fasten video here and get back as soon as the first message shows. Okay, so here's the message, and it says, now brush over the areas that you want to be painted. Proper tool will be already selected by the action. All you have to do is to just start brushing. After you finish, play the action again. Choose stop to proceed. So choose stop, and now the area that you brush now is going to be painted, right? And also that area is going to create a shadow. Okay, the shadow will start from the bottom of your area that you define here. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you brush outside of the subject, right? Because the action will take only those areas that are going over the subject. Okay. I'm going to pick the eraser tool and pick soft brush. You can adjust the brush size using the square brackets on your keyboard. And sorry, just gonna remove some parts of the sketch brushed. Okay, just like that. A little bit over here. Okay, just like that. And all you have to do after you finish the brush, just click play again, and the action will continue to work. So I'm going to fasten the video here again and get back as soon as the action is finished, and then I'm going to go through all the layers to show you how each layer works and how to customize the results to get most of the effect. Okay, so the action has just finished, so just gonna close these action panel for now. And the first thing that you probably want to do each time you run the action is to just quickly close down all these folders, because it's going to be much more easier for you to work with the layers. So how to do that is to just hold Alt and Control or Command for a Mac, and just click on this arrow here while this folder is selected, and that way we're just going to close down all the folders. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start customize the effect from the bottom layers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all layers, and then I'm just going to start turning them on one by one, because in that way you will better understand how each layer works. Alright, so first layer we got here is the background color, and when you double click here you can choose any color that you like. Okay, so here we got the background texture. Alright, and just turn on this one as well. So we can change the opacity here. To change the opacity of the any layer, you can just click on the word opacity and then just drag it aside. Okay, or you can click on this arrow here and then just move this slider around. Okay, so this is a background sketch, and so everything outside of this brushed area is going to be turned into the outline sketch. Actually, the whole photo will be turned into the outline sketch, including your subject. And when you open up the folder, you have two layers here. Okay, so this one has these smooth edges. This one has sharp edges. Okay, so just gonna drop the opacity of this one, something like this. I'm just gonna leave this one default. So in this photo, I don't have some. This photo doesn't have some details in the background, but if it has, all the details in the background will be outlined, because the whole photo will be outlined, and that's actually going to be this. This folder here is going to contain that outlines. Okay. Here we got a subject sketch. So the subject sketch is the area that you have brushed will be turned into this detailed sketch. Okay, and when you open up the folder, what you got here, the three layers called main sketch 1, 2, and 3, and they're giving the most of these details to your subject. Okay, and you can change the opacities here. Just gonna increase this one and maybe decrease the opacity of this one here. So they change this opacity of these layers. They can change the look of the sketch. Okay. And here we got the subject outline. I'm going to drop its opacity like this. This is a subject scribble. So these are just some random scribble lines over your subject. Just gonna select this layer mask, pick a brush tool, set foreground color to black. Just gonna remove over some areas. So each of these sketch layers, also the background sketch layers, have their layer mask. So if you wish to remove some sketch for some part of the photo, you can just select this layer mask and brush with the black. Okay, so for example, I can select this layer mask here and brush over here, and just going to remove this sketch from that area where I have brushed. Okay, and here we got these subject edges. You got the black and you got the white edges. So I'm going to drop the opacity this one, and just going to increase the opacity of the white edges. So also these layers has a layer mask. So if you wish to remove any part of any of these layers, you can just select its layer mask and brush with the black. And here we got the reveal subject details. Okay, so this folder, as you can see, gives a lot of clarity of the subject. And so this one here is giving something like a contrast. All right, and this one is just revealing more details. So I'm going to increase this one a little bit. Okay, like this. And here we got a layer says use original subject colors. When you turn it on, it's going to turn the whole subject into, it's going to add its original colors. And you can just select this layer mask, pick a brush tool, a brush with the black over the areas that you don't want to colorize. Okay, and you can just colorize specific areas. What you can also do is to press Ctrl or Command J to duplicate this layer and change its blending mode to soft light. Sometimes this is going to give you a better colorizing effect. Okay, so just going to turn it off for now. Also, what I'd like to do sometimes is just select this subject sketch folder layer mask, pick a brush tool, pick a soft brush, and set foreground color to black, and then just remove some parts, some areas like this from the subject. So then on those areas you got the outlines created from here. So you got this background sketch has the light outlines, and some areas you can get these detail sketch, so it looks like an unfinished sketch, and it's interesting effect. Okay. Here we got a vignette. All right, so just gonna turn it on and change the opacity here. Okay, and here's the shadow folder. So the shadow has 3 different layers, and as you can see, you got this layer mask over here, and this mask is, if you wish to, it's currently disabled, right? But for example, if you have, as you can see, this shadow contains these paint drops, okay? Shadows from the paint drops. But if you don't want to use the paint drops and you still have this paint drop shadow, you can update the shadow here, play the update left action in this case, or you can just simply enable this layer mask, and this is going to leave the shadow from your subject. So when you have this layer mask enabled, the shadow is only dropped by the subject. When it's disabled, then you get the shadow dropped by the from the paint drops as well. I'm going to hide this layer for now because I'm going to make the changes to the paint drops here, so I will have to update the shadows. I'm not going to customize these layers because I'm going to update them. And after I update the shadow, I'm going to customize it. Okay. So first I'm gonna open I'm gonna hide this one folder, and I'm going to open the paint folder. So the paint folder has this layer mask. If you wish, you can remove the paint from some areas by brushing with a black color into the layer mask. And if you want to remove some parts of your subject, and you want to update the shadow, it's important that you brush then into this layer mask. For example, brush like this, right click on this layer mask and choose apply layer mask. Okay, only that way when you update the shadow will use this updated subject, right? It will not use the area that you have removed. So here we got the subject painting contrast. So how you change the contrast, you just click on the word opacity and drag it aside. I'm gonna boost the contrast a little bit. And here we got a subject painting saturation, so you double click here and just move this saturation slider. I'm gonna increase it like this, and you get a subject painting brightness. You can use these 3 sliders here to adjust the your subject brightness. So just gonna boost the shadows a little bit and highlights. Okay, this slider here affects the midtones. And here we got a subject painting sharpening. Okay, so you change the sharpening by changing the opacity. I'm gonna leave it default. So now I'm gonna open the paint drops folder. So as you can see, you can also adjust here the brightness, saturation, the contrast of the paint drops, and they are layered, right? As you can see, you can hide any of these layers. If there's some paint drop that you like, you can simply hide the layer, or you can brush into this layer mask. For example, you select this one, layer, select this layer mask, and brush with the black. You remove that painting drop. Okay, and you have this layer here. It says create more paint drops. Brush here. So if you wish to add more paint drops, you just brush over here. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of the paint drops. And what I like to use is to hold Control or Command to activate the auto select option, and then just click, for example, on this one paint drop to select this layer automatically here, and then select this layer mask. I'm gonna set foreground color to black. Just gonna remove some parts. Okay, you're gonna select, and it's important that you always select the layer thumbnail instead of layer mask, otherwise the auto select option won't work. Okay, so just gonna remove some parts of these painting drops. And what you can also do is, if you, for example, want to move this painting drop, you can just pick a lasso tool and make a selection around the painting drop you wish to move. But make sure you have selected the layer of that painting drop, and then just press Control or Command Shift J on your keyboard, and you're going to get a new layer. You can just move it around like this. Okay. Now I'm just going to select this one. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to remove this one as well. Sometimes, if you're not happy with these painting jobs, how the action made, you can just hide all these layers and create them by yourself. And I'm going to show you how in a moment, because I'm going to create also some painting jobs by myself. Just want to firstly customize this here that I got. So I'm gonna select this one here, Control Command Shift J to move it in a separate layer. Just gonna move it around like this, and I'm gonna move this one as well. I'm going to delete this one. I'm gonna brush over here to remove this part, and so I'm using a control command to activate auto select. Click on the drop, it selects the layer here, then I can select the layer mask and remove part that I want. Okay, I'm gonna remove, but always you have to select the layer thumbnail, otherwise the auto select option won't work. Okay, so now I have to select the layer thumbnail, auto select, and I'm just gonna select this one. Just gonna make a selection, press Control Command Shift J, make a new layer, just gonna move it up a little bit. I'm gonna select this one, and I'm going to remove this paint drop. I'm gonna remove it actually only this part. This part as well, and I'm going to select all these and make a new layer. Of course, you again need to select these layer thumbnails, so I press Control Command Shift J. Just want to move those a little bit over here. Okay, I'm gonna select this one here. I'm going to remove it, and I'm just gonna select this layer. I'm gonna remove these drops as well. I'm gonna remove these over here. I'm gonna remove this one. Oops, didn't select the layer mask. So I'm gonna remove these two, and remove this one, and this one. Okay, I'm just gonna remove a couple of more, and then I'm going to create some new paint jobs. I'm gonna remove this one I have made by cutting it from this layer, so it doesn't have layer mask. You just click here, create a layer mask. It doesn't matter if it's linked or unlinked, and I'm just gonna brush with the black to remove it. Okay, I'm gonna select this layer. I'm gonna make a selection to cut it from this layer to make it a separate layer. Move it up a little bit, and just gonna remove those layers here. Oops, I have misclicked. Okay, so here when the auto select option is selecting this layer here, so just gonna hide it, hide this one. I'm gonna turn them on, so it's because these layers are over this one here, so the auto select option selects first those layers before those here, before the drop layer. Okay, so how to create a new paint drops is to select this layer here, pick a brush tool, and you got 5 different paint drops brushes here. Just any that you like, and you can change the size using the square brackets, but also their size is changing after you create each brush. So you click once, and next time the size is changed. Okay, so I'm gonna create this one here. So just gonna create them randomly. Okay, I'm gonna create one over here. Okay, and I'm just gonna pick some of these drops. I'm going to add a few more drops here, and what's important is that you add these drops inside this area, and if you wish to add outside of those area, I'm going to show you now what to do in a moment. I'm just gonna add a few more drops. Like this. Okay, maybe I'm just gonna add one more over here, just like that. Okay, so if you wish to add some drop, for example, right here, over here, it's going to be in the color of the brush because this layer doesn't cover it. So what you should do in that way is to create one layer, one new layer. If you wish to create a drop over here, for example, you just create it above, for example, here. then you hold Control or Command and click on this layer thumbnail to make a selection. You can then right click and delete this layer, and then select this layer and press Control or Command J. It's going to make a cut of the layer, and you're gonna get the drop in the proper color. You can then just move it wherever you want. Okay. And any drops that you create is important that inside this folder, because when you using the update shadow action, it's going to use this folder. If you put the drop outside of this folder, paint drops, then that drop is not going to be used for creating a shadow. Okay. So let me just check if I should make some more changes here. Just gonna create this layer here. Okay. Okay, that's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the same adjustments I applied to subject painting also to this painting job. So I'm going to set the same values. Okay. You of course don't have to use the same values, but usually that's the way it works best. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this paint folder layer mask, pick a soft brush. I'm going to set foreground color to black. I'm just going to quickly remove some parts here, these edges of the subject, to just make a better blending between these painting drops and between the painting drops and the subject painting. Okay, just like this. Just like this. A little bit also here. It just makes much better blending, because it removes if there is some sharp edge of the subject. It's not in the proper color. So just do it like this. Okay. And I'm gonna brush over here as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just gonna add a color look, and this color look is turned on by default, so you can just turn it off. Try with another. You have 20 color looks to choose from, and you can also combine them. So for example, you can turn on this one, change its opacity, turn on another one, change opacity. Okay, and that way you can create even more color looks. So you basically just turn them on, see how it looks. If doesn't work with your photo, just turn it off, try it with another. So in this example, I'm just going to use this one here. Okay, and now I'm just going to turn on the shadow, and as I have removed some paint jobs, I have added some new paint jobs, some removed and other. Some I have removed some. So what I have to do is to update the shadow. So just gonna ask if you use the left shadow angle here, I have to use the update shadow left angle. So just gonna play the action and fasten the video here and get back as soon as the action is finished. Okay, so the action here just finished, so just gonna close the actions panel. And so the shadow is now updated, so just gonna open the folder. And as I already mentioned before, if for example don't want to use the paint drops now, you can just turn them off and then enable these layer masks. You don't use there's no shadow from the painting drops. Okay, so you can now change the opacities of these layers. Okay, I'm just going to increase a little bit opacity with this one, and increase a little bit this one here. Okay, that's it. So I'm pretty much happy with this design. So let's just quick check the before and after. So this is the before, and this is the after effect. Okay, so I'm just gonna proceed with a second example. Um, I have already done brushing before for the example, so just gonna open my PSD file. So when you don't want to use the shadow and the painting drops, you can then use this action, the wet paint quick. And then all you have to do when you make a new layer, when you make a brush layer, is to just pick a soft brush and choose any color here. Color is not matter, and you can then just brush like this. You don't need to have the sharp edges, and you don't have to brush precisely. Okay, so I already checked here the image size and other things. So all I have to do now uh, is to just play the action. So just going to select the wet paint action, quick, and click play. Okay, so here is the message that I already explained in the previous example. So you basically just have to brush for the area that you wish to be painted. So just going to click stop. And as I'm planning to use, I'm planning to create only a sketch effect here. I'm just going to brush something like this. Okay, it doesn't matter. But you can, if you wish, you can I can brush the whole subject like this. Okay, and just going to click play, fasten the video here again, and get back to when the action is finished. Okay, so the action here just finished, so I'm going to close the actions panel. And again, hold Control Alt buttons for a PC or Command Option for Mac. Click on this arrow to close down the folders. So as you can see, this action didn't create, this version doesn't create the paint drops and the shadow effect. I'm immediately gonna turn off the paint folder because I'm not going to use it. And I'm gonna start customizing the effect from the bottom again. So you got a background color. Okay, I'm gonna leave it default. Background texture. I'm gonna increase this opacity of these two layers. And as you can see in this example, so the background sketch created the outlines of all areas that are outside of the brush layer are also turned into the outlines. Okay, so these, as mentioned before, the background sketch creates the outlines of the whole photo. And this area that I brushed is in detail sketch. So I got a vignette here. Here's the subject sketch. Okay. Here we got a subject outline. Gonna leave it default. I'm gonna select this layer mask subject scribble, and gonna use a soft brush, set foreground color to black. I'm just gonna remove the scribble for some areas, just like this. And now just gonna open the subject edges folder. Okay, and the real subject details. I'm gonna boost the visibility of the subject. Okay, so here we got the, if we wish to use the original subject colors, I'm not going to use it in this example, and just gonna add some nice color looks. So I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna combine it with this one. So just gonna drop the opacity a little bit. Okay, so that's it, and let's just quickly check the before and after. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is that after you apply the color look, you may want to change the background color. So double click on this color box, and you can use any color that you like. Okay, and Let's quickly check the before and after. So this is the before and this is the after effect. Okay, so I hope you understood everything, but if you still need any help or you got any questions, feel free to contact me anytime via my Envato profile page. Thanks for watching.